Today I'm going to try to draw one of these flowers in naphthalene Greece, and apparently these are called angel's trumpets. The first time I heard about these was on a hike in Tepoztlan, Mexico in 2021. The guy we were with told us about how when he was a kid, him and his friends would use these for illicit activities, which apparently was not a joke because these are highly toxic. And while they are commonly used in that way, they also have a reputation for causing severe delirium, seizures, paralysis, and can be fatal. Even touching them can cause skin irritation and swelling. So despite their beauty, I would suggest appreciating them with your eyes and not with your hands, and definitely not your mouth, like I'm doing. Speaking of what I'm doing, what am I doing? Well, if you're new here, I'm learning to draw while I travel the world. I am in Greece at the moment, wandering around, seeing what I might be able to draw. I think it's going swimmingly. Today marks 113 drawings, which sounds like a lot, but it really isn't. I have a very long way to go, as you will soon see in this drawing. Okay, so why do I say that? What's so terrible about this drawing? If you guessed everything, that's right, you win. I can't stand looking at this drawing. And if it weren't for the eventual drawing that I'll be doing on the opposite side of the page, I would rip this out and bury it deep in the earth. I don't like it. I can't imagine you will either, but maybe we'll learn something by watching its horrible, poisonous form materialize. So let's do that. First off, this drawing is all about figuring it out as I go. I've realized that while many of my drawings share some similarities, there are some that feel wholly novel to me, that contain certain components or whatever that I just do not understand how to put to paper. This is one of those. Shape helps me in the beginning considerably, but because that part of this is pretty straightforward, beyond that, I don't have really anything to go on. Watching this back, especially as I look at the reference, I realize how much better of a job I might have done had I stuck to this framing that you're seeing on the left. I chose to draw this single flower because I felt like A, it would be fun to experiment with, and B, the whole bush might be too ambitious. A, I think still stands. It was probably helpful, or at least illuminating for me to give this a try. But B is almost certainly wrong. If I drew the whole thing, I wouldn't have fallen into so many of the pitfalls that I do by the end. Reference-wise, my flower resembles those at the top more than the bottom. And that's because I'm right up close, and the one I chose to focus on was kind of at an angle. You can see in those top ones how much of the inside is revealed, and that changes the silhouette pretty drastically. I figured that the bottom ones facing directly downward wouldn't give me enough to work with, and that's probably right. Beyond the basic shape, I wouldn't have known where to take it, which again leads me to thinking that drawing a few of them might have been a little bit more interesting. But whatever. Because I didn't do that, and because I chose one at an angle, I did have this inside bit to consider, and consider it I did. It was pretty enjoyable, actually, to figure out which ways certain lines would go and all of that. But just like with the silhouette, I felt like I hit a wall with it, like I had nowhere else to go. And this is a moment where I'm face to face with my limits. Sometimes I start to think that I have a reasonably firm grasp on drawing, like I can, for the most part, represent anything with, mild accuracy on the paper, until something like this comes along and I'm just totally lost. That might sound silly, that I feel that confident sometimes, or maybe it sounds silly that I only sometimes feel that way, but it really just comes down to you and your perspective. If drawing seems like some mysterious magic to you, then maybe what I do on this channel seems more impressive to you than it does to me. However, if you've spent time learning and honing your own drawings, you might see where I am and understand how much farther I have to go. However you slice it, the process from my point of view is always changing, sometimes for the better, sometimes not. But even on days like today, days where I'm feeling exclusively inept, I comfort myself by thinking about how this is a little lesson and how maybe what I've been feeling is a plateau. And this small ditch is like the catalyst for another incline. Maybe that's overly optimistic, but I'd much prefer that than the alternative. And all in all, while this is probably my least favorite drawing of the past few weeks, at least, it gives me a chance to think about what I can do next to get better. And actually, after this, I went home and tried the whole thing over again, just from memory and in pencil, and it worked out much better. The dramatic shading on the inside was much more subtle, and the whole thing looked a lot less aggressive. It still didn't look good, but it was a small, immediate improvement upon what I did here. So ultimately, this didn't go as planned, even though I didn't have much of a plan to speak of. I just followed my gut all the way through, and this is what we're left with. Shape-wise, I think it's totally fine. It's acceptable, I guess. But pretty much everything else, yeah, it's not great. I figured I'd try to shade at the end with these, lines that kind of look swirly, which are meant to imply the inner curvature. But my wife said I made it look hairy, so that's nice. Really not a fan of this one, but I'd love to hear what you think about it. Let me know in the comments, and also let me know what other types of subjects you would like to see me draw out in the world. I appreciate you for taking the time to watch this one, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks.